This is Sandy Nelson here with some old boring home movies. That's my grandfather, Carl Nielsen, who was born in Denmark, and he and his wife, my grandmother, came to Salina, Utah, and he made green beer in the basement, and the Mormon elders didn't like it. By the way, maybe you don't know this, Nicholas helping me, or doing the editing here. And that's me there, and that's down in L.A.
That's where you grew up, was it, in LA?
Oh, yeah, all my life. Except for Boulder City. There's my father. And there, my mother was so happy not to be pregnant anymore. That's my mother's older sister who lived in Beaver after her husband died. And I used to go up there and fish and camp, hike, and that's her first husband that died. He was born and raised in Cedar City, Utah. And Mac McGarry is his name. He was in the mining business up. Oh, there's my mother again.
Oh, she's still dancing.
That's the Fox Studio gate. My father and mother bought a little house walking distance, and then when William Fox joined 20th Century, they built a big entrance and administration building about a half a mile away.
Cool. And your dad worked there, didn't he?
Yeah, he was a projectionist for Zanuck and the producers, and he'd let me wander around the lot when I was 9 and 10, and I was very impressed with Al Newman's orchestra, warming up the violins for the pictures. And I went home to my parents' piano and tried to be an arranger. I should have stuck to that, but I went out in the garage because the garage was more like a sound stage, but there was no piano. But I beat on tin cans. That's my mother's mother, my grandmother.
Is this up in Utah too?
Oh yeah. Their name was Nielsen. My mother's name was Lydia Nielsen, and my father's name was Lloyd Nelson. How about that?
Wow.
Did you know that?
They were meant for each other. No, I didn't.
They were fixed up on a blind date. Does that look like me? What do you think, Nikki?
Yeah, it
maybe
does kind of look like
he
you.
may be a great uncle in Denmark with the Jack Sander Circus. That's where I got my first name. And the short story is that some of the Germans with circuses went up from Hanover into Denmark and met some cutie pie Danes, and that's how I got started. Yeah, the one on the left there looks sort of like my mother. I don't know how far, probably the late 1800s. There's my first date. Her name is Gail Pierce, and that was in West LA, or what is now Mar Vista. Oh, and wow. I made her cry, and I made up my mind never to go out with a woman again. We should maybe use Gail Pierce as a keyword. She might still be around.
Yeah.
Her mother was Johnny Pierce, and there is my mother and my grandfather, who was born in Denmark, who made the green beer.
All right.
There's this cabin up in Fish Lake, Utah.
Looks beautiful.
It's called Fawn, the name of the cabin, named after one of my mother's sisters. And Fawn and my mother used to boogie and drink beer and carry on in North Hollywood in the 30s before I was born. Yeah, these are the kids on Kirkside Road in Beverly Wood. I was on the end there. And I do have the names of all these guys. The tall one there is Hank Moore. He and his brother and his father, they became attorneys, Moore, and Moore in Beverly Hills.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And there should be Richard Newman. There's Harvey Haberman. Oops.
Wow.
That's me.
Taking a beating?
Oh, yeah. There should have been Richard Newman in there. He was related to the Al Newman people, the orchestra for Fox Studio. And they had a offspring in there someplace, Randy Newman. That's my mother's sister, Sylvia. She looked like Nurse Ratched. Did you see the hair?
So Randy Newman, the piano player?
Yeah.
The singer? Oh, wow.
Weird songs.
Yeah, great songs, yeah. Is that you?
Yeah, that was me. There's Hank Moore, Henry. That's my mother, of course. And next door was Mrs. Schleip. She was bedridden, poor woman. She lost both sons in the World War II. And I would bang on tin cans to Spike Jones records in the garage, and she'd open her window and tell me, that window there, and tell me to shut up. I had my first audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the living room where I had my first set of drums that was from the 1920s. I got it for Christmas, and they were old in 1948. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
In 1948, the drum set was old. Oh, who we got here? There's Harvey Haberman, and there's Arthur Cole with the hat on, I think, yeah. He became an artist, I think. And there's my grandmother and somebody in the Fish Lake area. That was at Fish Lake.
Yeah.
And there's my father and some guy that worked at Fox Studio. Caught a big fish, I guess.
Yeah, they look like they're happy. Yeah.
When I used to watch them, like I say, the violins warm up for the movies at Fox, that inspired me to. There's my Aunt Carla, my mother's oldest sister. She was born in Denmark. That's the one that lived in Beaver till she died. And then there's my mother's sister, Fawn. And they used to boogie and play pool and drink beer in North Hollywood.
Uh-huh.
And there's my Uncle Carl Nielsen, who married that gal there, Joy, who's a very well-educated woman. They had 7 kids. And 2 of the little girls, my age, near my age, Joellen and Carla, were my buddies. At one time, they lived down at Venice Beach in a little house. We'd play in the sand. Now this, we jumped to 1959, and a little skit. My friend Bob Roos, who I went to high school with, he became a judge. We put on this skit here. Where
pair of villains.
Yeah, the villains are going to take the deed away. And Tim Newhart is to the right there. We'll make him a key word. He might still be around. Oh, no. Tim is on the left. Oh, my goodness. Made a mistake. Oh. This was on a street in Brentwood, right near where O.J., well, we don't have to bring him up. In that same neighborhood, in the back house. There's me at the rescue.
The hero.
If you notice,
right?
see that black thing in my back pocket? I started doing little recording sessions for $10 and $15, and I got a Black Book Weekend glance, just like Earl Palmer, my hero, who did a lot of sessions. He was from New Orleans.
Uh-huh.
He played with Fats Domino. And now there's the set in the studio, Podler's studio, where I did Teen Beat. I was known as Sam, but Art LeBeau put out Teen Beat and changed my name back to Sandy. And Art LeBeau was genius enough to overdub Guy Bo Smith from Summertime Blues. What's his name? You know, the tone, and then the chicka chick on the guitar from Barney Kessel. I got the idea from Teen Beat from Caravan, excuse me, and a strip drummer where Jan and Dean and Arnie and Bruce Johnson and I, Bob Roos, used to go down and see the strippers at the New Follies in downtown, and I ended up looking at the pit drummer, and that's Bruce Johnson. He was on Teen Beat. He put the shoes in his piano, and there's me. My love was radio broadcasting, and that was a little station where I met Art LeBeau, KJFJ, in a little house, and that was one of my bands in the late 60s. This is after, before I lost my leg. And we went all over the Midwest on that tour, and that's my little daughter, Lisa, who at this taping or recording, or what do you call it?
Taping, I guess.
Something.
Yeah.
She's a nurse in an RN at Kaiser in San Diego.
Uh-huh.
Boy, they grow so fast. My father and I, in my motorhome, after I had moved up to Boulder City, we're going to Oregon to pick up an old drinking buddy of mine that retired in Coos Bay, and there's my father. And we had a good bonding there because there was a lot of alcoholism in the family in the old days when I was little. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's Bob Beeson, who lived in Coos Bay. He's dead now.
Is that you he's watching on the TV?
Oh, I think so, actually.